up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of FNS and Sports Media Podcast. This is going to be episode 36. We're continuing our trend that we've been doing over the past few days, and today we're going to be kind of projecting our projections for the AL Central, our last division for the AL League. So I'm excited about that. And then maybe next week we'll do the NL leagues. But today we're going to be projecting some of the AL Central. I'm Cooper.
My name's Aaron.
Let's get right into it. All right, so Pacoda projects the Twins to win first with 88 wins, the Guardians at 83, the Tigers at 75, the Royals at 70, and the White Sox at 66. I'm a little bit, I don't really agree with this because I feel like maybe the Royals should be a little bit higher because they just made a lot of moves over the offseason. And I feel like Tigers, they just aren't it for me. They just aren't it. And I don't know about the Twins. They kind of lost a lot of their pitching. We'll talk about that a little later. But what do you think about Pacoda?
I mean, it's a math, program. It's using statistics and inputting things to take some of the subjectivity out of it, to where it's like, oh, well, I don't feel good about this. Pacoda doesn't have feelings. Pacoda doesn't care about your feelings.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about my feelings. And so for me, I think the benefit for the Twins here is I think the Twins are probably the best team in the division. Twins are probably the best team in the division. You get to play most of your games against the teams in your division. And really, the AL Central is probably the weakest division. Probably one of the weakest divisions in baseball. And so the Twins get to play a bunch of games against teams that are worse than them. So I think that's how Pacoda has the Twins stacking so many wins in the division. I have some problems. With it as well, but I think for different reasons. We can talk more about that later.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about because when I got these projections, they had some people were talking about it. And they said there's some financial uncertainty with the Twins for the RNS. Is that how you say it? RNS? RSN. Because a lot of teams have been in that predicament this offseason. They've been kind of worrying about their pays and how much money they can spend, like the Rangers. But then Amazon came in, and maybe that'll help some teams spend a little more. But then again, it's basically over the offseason. But Minnesota, they signed Carlos Santana, but they traded Jorge Polanco. The rotation is in worse shape than 2023 with Kenta Maeda and Sonny Gray signing elsewhere. The Twins are going to need Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa to stay healthy and productive if they hope to build off last season.
Yeah, I think that last line there is where I'm just like, when it says the Twins will need Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa to stay healthy and productive. I mean, and I need $1 million in my pocket too. Like neither one of those is going to magically happen, because it's never happened. Carlos Correa and Byron Buxton have never stayed productive and healthy through basically an entire season. And so if that's what you're gambling on, man, good luck with that.
That's not a good gamble.
Yeah.
If they both play more than 130 games, I would be shocked. For the Guardians, they kind of flopped in 2023 after they won the division in 2022, but they still have pitching and defense with some timely hitting mixed in. The rotation is Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, and Logan Allen is one of the AL's best pitching rotations. There's a lot of young guys, but those young guys have shown that they are talented and they are very good pitchers.
Quick, name one batter on the Cleveland Guardians other than Jose Ramirez.
Stephen Kwan.
Okay. But somebody that's gonna really move the needle for him. It's like they may have all of that pitching. They may have a lot of pitching depth, but they have one hitter they have one hitter in the lineup that really that teams have to consider and have to worry about. And so they may have all the pitching in the world, but you got to score runs to win.
Yeah.
I just don't see the Guardians scoring enough runs.
For the Tigers, they finished 2023 on a high note. They had a 17-10 record in September. Detroit, they want to build off of that momentum in 2024 with kind of an interesting lineup with a number of homegrown players who flashed some potential last season. The biggest reason is for Terrace Schoolwall. If he can lead a rotation with a blend of veterans and younger arms, I think the Tigers could do something. But they're going to need the bats to show up as well, and they're going to need some of the other pitching to show up as well. So it's kind of a big gamble for the Tigers. I don't think that they're going to go very far this season, but I don't know.
I think the Tigers are an interesting team. I think they have some of the pieces. They've made some improvements throughout the offseason. I like some of the things that they've done. It'll just be interesting to see if they can put it all together. I think the Tigers might be a team that could quietly make some noise in the division.
Yeah, I know I said a little bit earlier that I thought the Royals could go higher, but Pacoda, they are pretty relatively high. They have 14 wins more than last year because Kansas City was really active this offseason. Not really surprising because we knew that they wanted to move, but it still surprises you when Kansas City goes out and sign like 5 really good guys. They signed a pair of veterans and in the rotation, and then signing star with Bobby Witt Jr. I think that the Royals could go somewhere. I like what they've done, but I hope that this isn't just for moving to the new stadium because I want them to actually do something this year. Because the Royals, they just for the past few years they haven't been there, and then maybe with Bobby Witt and the other guys that they got, they could put it all together and maybe go somewhere.
Yeah, I really like the Royals off season. I'm really high on the Royals going into this season. When you think about the guys that they signed, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Chris Stratton, that's just for their pitching. But in adding Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha to a rotation with Brady Singer and Cole Ragans, I think that they could have a really solid rotation. Then you add some guys also like Will Smith, Adam Frazier, Hunter Renfroe. Those aren't necessarily guys that move the needle so much. But when you think about where, in terms of star power, but when you think about where the Royals were with their lineup during the 2023 season, and you're replacing some of those, let's face it, replacement level players with guys that have a pedigree like Adam Frazier and Hunter Renfroe, I think the Royals are ready to make a big jump. And they won 70 games last year.
Yeah,
I think the Royals can definitely make a run at the playoffs. The Royals can make a run at the playoffs just by improving from last year to this year. The Royals, I'm high on the Royals. I mean, as high as you can be for.
You can't go too high, but you can go pretty high for the Royals after what they've done this offseason. Let's go into the projections. Kind of. You want to go first?
Sure. For me, I'm going with the Tigers to win the division. I think the Tigers.
Okay.
I knew what you're going to say. I think the Tigers have made some improvements. It's not necessarily that the Tigers are going to win the division. I think it's some of the other teams around them are going to fall off. I think it'll be very difficult for Minnesota to come back, losing 2 of their top pitchers. I think it'll be difficult for them to replicate their success from last season. I also think the Guardians just don't have enough. The Guardians don't have enough offense or anything else. Give me the Tigers to win the division. I think the Twins will come in second, and then down here the Guardians are the next best team. But I think the Royals are right there with them. I've got the Royals slotted at 4th in the division, but I really think if there's one team that could skyrocket up the standings, it's definitely going to be the Royals. We haven't talked about the White Sox, but that's because they're the White Sox, and they are going to be terrible. The White Sox might make a run at being the worst team in baseball next year.
Yeah, I agree with you there. They just have not done anything except sign Paul DeJong, which is going to do so much for them, replacing Tim Anderson with possibly a worse bat. But for number 1 for me, I got the Guardians. I like what they could do. They still need a little more maybe power in that lineup, but they did acquire Estevan Florial from the Yankees. He hit 28 home runs in AAA, but he does have a lot of swing and miss. But they need some more power in that lineup with Steven Kwan, and Jose Ramirez needs to have kind of a bounce back season. He didn't have a terrible season, but it wasn't as good as his previous seasons. So I think the Royals, with their pitching staff and with maybe their top 3 bats, could do something. I like where they're going. For number 2 for me, okay, you might think I'm crazy. I'm going to number 2 for the Royals. Now, when I look at the rest of the division, I look at it and I see Twins, Tigers, White Sox. White Sox out. Tigers aren't a terrible sleeper pick because they could do something because they were pretty good last year in September. But I like the Royals with everything that they've done. I think that players are going to play as hard as they could because I think the Royals are going to play as hard as they can because they want to move stadiums. I think the coaches are going to push them, and I really, really, really want the Royals to just win. I just really want them to win. Number 3, Twins. You just can't ignore it. I think they're better than the Tigers and the White Sox combined. Maybe not combined, but they're definitely better than both of those teams. Because even with them losing all those guys, I think Carlos Santana, even though he's old, he still hit more than 20 home runs last year. Still hit at least above 200. Not terrible for a guy that's like more than 35 years old. But yeah, number 4 for the Tigers. I'm just really down on the Tigers because they're going to need a lot of bounce back seasons from Riley Green and Javi Baez. But Javi Baez looks like he's going down, not up. Riley Green was injured a lot. And for the White Sox, there's nothing much that I can say for that. So that's going to kind of wrap up this podcast episode. Hope you liked this one. I kind of enjoyed it. I like talking about the AL Central just because they're so bad that it's just fun to talk about it. I can't say much because the Cardinals were pretty bad and the NL Central was pretty bad. But I like talking about the AL Central. There's a lot of teams that are in the mix for a playoff run. And thanks you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified when new podcast episodes come out. And we'll see you guys later.